to Morocco or Algeria?
Algerians.
Yeah, El Kader.
Yeah, and they came through with some money.
Right.
Yes.
That's what I was going to ask, because
Yeah,
obviously the National Czech and Slovak Museum in Cedar Rapids is going to benefit from some assistance from the Czech Republic. So, okay, good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, we did. It's from the president of the country.
It is a beautiful town. I've
Gave
been
a
there many
certain
times.
dollar amount to split up between the businesses and a certain amount to split up between the homeowners, and
Right.
you know, it was nice. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but it was a nice, very nice gesture. Very appreciated.
Great. I'm all in favor of getting assistance where we can get it, and so, no, it's wonderful. Thank you. Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll yield back. Thank you.
Well, I think that last comment really drives home the fundamental point that I saw everywhere I went in my district, and I'm sure Congressman Lobsack too, and that is that we're all in this together. And it's not just people in Iowa who are in this together, it's people in Iowa and Tennessee and Houston and Florida and California. And the best way, I think, for me to close this hearing is to share a story that happened to me. And to put this in context, we had the most powerful tornado in the United States this year hit my district, that hit the communities of Parkersburg, New Hartford, Dunkerton, and Hazleton. Less than 10 days later, we had epic flooding on every inland river in our state. And as I was flying back to Washington at the beginning of the flooding event, I flew over on my way from Waterloo to Minneapolis, the town of New Hartford, which had been devastated by the tornado and was completely underwater, and I knew I was going to be coming back right away. And I spent 2 nights sandbagging on the Cedar River, and I was in a neighborhood over on the east side of Waterloo along Lafayette Street. Randy, you know right where this is, with my city council member. And we'd finished sandbagging in one area, and we were told we had to get down to another area 2 blocks away, and to get there we had to walk through waist-deep water, and it was getting dark out. So we walked down there, and I started handing sandbags to a 14-year-old boy who was putting them around the base of his grandmother's home. And we got done sandbagging her house, and we walked out into the street light. It was dark now, and he looked up at me, and he said, "Are you Bruce Braley?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "You're my congressman?" I said, "Yes." And he ran off, and he brought over 2 of his friends because he could not believe he was out sandbagging with his congressman. And that, to me, was all the motivation I needed to come back to Washington and keep telling this story over and over and over. Because people aren't looking for a handout with no strings attached. They're looking for a temporary hand up to keep their business open, their home open, and one of the biggest problems we saw was people who were so desperate to get back into their homes that it was sometimes creating a safety risk for the people trying to deal with the immediate aftermath. I think the testimony we've heard today has been a great illustration of why small businesses do provide the backbone of our economy, and that's why we can see a ripple effect throughout these communities when we take the time to help them in their time of need. So I want to thank the ranking member for his insightful comments. I want to thank my colleague from Iowa, Congressman Lobsack, and the great work that the staff did today to prepare for the hearing. And I also want to make sure that as we move forward, people don't forget the stories we heard today, because we seem to have a mentality in this country that the disaster of the day is all we see on television. And once the flooding recedes and the torn buildings are removed, everybody forgets about what's happening. But to all of you, every day, this is part of your lives, and we want to make sure we're doing everything we can to respond to your needs. So thank you all for coming. I ask unanimous consent that members have 5 legislative days to enter statements into the record. Without objection, so ordered. I want to thank the witnesses again for taking time from your lives when you're dealing with the aftermath of all these problems and coming to share your stories. And with that, our hearing is now adjourned.